Episode 349 of 360 Wrestling Fanatic is all about tonight's WWE Monday Night RAW, which featured two tag team championship matches, one title defense and one title change, a Viking Rules match, a SummerSlam match accepted, and one issued. Right here, right now, 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Welcome, Wrestling Fanatics, to 360 Wrestling Fanatic episode 449. Hope everyone had a great Monday today, and we'll be talking about tonight's WWE Monday Night RAW. I am Lance Brock, your host of this podcast, and also, if I have any news to talk about at the end, we'll talk about what's going on in the world of pro wrestling. But first, let's get started with WWE Monday Night RAW. And RAW was live from Atlanta, Georgia at the State Farm Arena. Our commentators tonight, Kevin Patrick and Corey Graves. And we start things off with the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, in his hometown. Cuts an emotional hometown promo. His mother is in the front row. And he calls out Brock Lesnar. And we hear the music of the Beast, but he does not come out. Cody goes to the floor, and still nothing. And Cody starts to walk up the aisleway, still no Lesnar. And then he goes to the entrance and goes to the back for a second. And then we hear a chair shot, and then we see a steel chair thrown through the entrance, and it is Brock Lesnar. Takes Cody to the ring, uses the chair on him, right in front of his mother at ringside, hits an F5 on Rhodes onto the floor, and leaves him laying. And actually, before they went to the floor, though, Lesnar in the ring got on the mic, and he said, "Challenge accepted." So at SummerSlam August 5th, it'll be the third match between Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. So far, there's no stipulation yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming weeks they do add some kind of a stipulation to the match. I don't know what kind of match they maybe make this third one, but I think there's going to be some kind of something added to it, or at least that's what I think it is going to be. Now let's get into the first match on Monday Night RAW this week. And first I just want to say, if you heard the episode Saturday night when I recapped Slammiversary, Saturday Collision, and Battle of the Belt 7, I introduced the new ratings here on 360 Wrestling Fanatic. And I have to admit, I did most of the matches, or rated them, I should say, but I was a little tired, and there was a few that once I started doing the podcast, I talked about the matches, but didn't give the ratings, kind of forgot, and probably was a mixture of being tired. I want to say, I think it might have been a little after 3 a.m. after I went live, and I'll try to get better with that starting tonight. But if you missed it though, once again, I came up with the great idea, or maybe bad idea, of having ring bells instead of stars like everybody else does, and suplexes, which I wish I would have thought of like Pro Wrestling Illustrated does. Excuse me. But also, like I said, that I wanted to come up with my own thing for a rating system for matches. So here's how it is for each match. Gonna be 1 to 5 ring bells. Of course, 5 is the best. And for the whole show overall, gonna do 1 to 10. And let's get on to back to Monday Night Raw tonight. And we have Gunther taking on the original bro Matt Riddle with Imperium in the corner of Gunther. And Gunther defeats Matt Riddle. Not a bad match here. I'd say 3.5 out of 5 ring bells for this one. And in the back, we see the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. And then we see the World Women's Champion, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, and she gets in their faces again, and they don't back down. And Liv Morgan tries to be kind of tough here, and he gets in the face of Rhea Ripley, who's going to say something probably like she did before, how they're not afraid of her. And she knocks Liv Morgan down. And then at this time, Raquel Rodriguez stuck up for her friend and tag team partner, and they start to brawl. And security comes to break this fight up. And as security was pulling Rodriguez off Ripley kicked Raquel Rodriguez in the knee, injuring the knee. And they do have a women's tag team title defense tonight on Raw. And then we see them a little later on in the trainer's room. And the WWE doctor says that she is clear to compete, but he does say that he really doesn't want her to. And then WWE official Adam Pearce says, he asks him if she can compete, and then Raquel says she wants to, and they will go on with the tag team championship match tonight. And that match is the champions Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan defending against Liv Morgan there I go messing up again. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defending against Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. Of course, they go after the injured knee of Raquel Rodriguez, and they pin Liv Morgan to win the titles and become new WWE Tag Team Champions, Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. Not a bad match though, but I'm going to say really anything that great, and I'd have to say 3 out of 5 ring bells for this one. Not a bad match. And next up, Shayna Baszler got ahead of myself in my notes a little bit. First, we have the Viking Rules match. The Viking Raiders, Eric and Ivar with Valhalla in their corner, taking on the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis with Maxine Dupree, and had the whole Viking or half Viking ship set up on the entrance side of the ring and the shields and stuff. I want to say the first one was between of course, the Viking Raiders and the New Day. And then we had this one. Not really a big fan of the gimmick. I wouldn't say this is the best gimmick match we have ever seen in pro wrestling, but I would say not a real great match, but it is the Viking Raiders. I guess that's their specialty. Maybe you can call it that. And Maxine Dupree and Valhalla do get involved. And they brought out the jacket from Maxine's graduation last week that Valhalla stole. And at one point, Chad Gable and Maxine look like they teased that Maxine's going to do the worm again. Or the caterpillar, whichever they call it. And Gable sees the jacket in the ring and tells Maxine to put it on, but the distraction costs her. And Valhalla is able to run at her, put her through a table, and Gable's checking on her. He gets attacked by the Viking Raiders. And then Otis is double teamed 2-on-1, and they pin him. So the Viking Raiders victorious in their specialty, the Viking Rules match. And like I said, this one's not really too great. Don't want to be too negative, but wasn't really that great of a match though. I'd have to say 2.5 out of 5 ring bells. I know that's a low rating, but I apologize. And now Shayna Baszler is in action. She defeats Nikki Cross. And then all of a sudden, we hear Ronda Rousey say, and the crowd goes mild. She is in one of the press boxes, and she calls out Shayna Baszler to go up there. Baszler goes through the crowd, but then she is stopped by security. And Rousey says, I am finally going to get you booked for SummerSlam. And she challenges Baszler to a match. So now it is official. Ronda Rousey taking on Shayna Baszler August 5th at SummerSlam. I think that could be a really good match, but we will just have to wait and see till SummerSlam. And as far as the match, not real much, but I'd have to say maybe just the same as maybe the Viking Rules match. This one wasn't really a whole lot, so maybe 2.5 out of 5 ring bells. And next up, Bronson Reed and Shinsuke Nakamura. Reed gets the win via disqualification. I'd have to say 3.5 out of 5 ring bells for this one. And also, I know I'm going out of order here, but I think this was before this point, but I apologize. The Miz hosted Miz TV with Becky Lynch. And in the main event of the evening tonight on Raw, the WWE Undisputed Tag Team Championships are on the line with the champions Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking on the Judgment Day, which earlier in the night we got a promo from the Judgment Day in the ring, and they were interrupted by the champions Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and Damian Priest challenges them to defend the titles against himself and Dirty Dom, Dominic Mysterio, tonight on Raw. Sami Zayn gives the mic to Kevin Owens, and he accepts the match on their behalf. And also, before I get into the match though, another thing I forgot to mention is we had a backstage interview, Byron Saxton talking to the World Heavyweight Champion Seth freaking Rollins, and Finn Balor interrupts the interview, not allowing it to finish, and they exchange some words, and Seth Rollins tells him something like to do something or get out of here. Balor gets up and leaves, but then comes back, cheap shots Rollins when he's about to take his mic off, and leaves Rollins laying, tells him to make the match. I'm not sure if it was made official just yet tonight, but I'm sure it'll probably be at SummerSlam for the World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor, which I don't know why, but I don't really see Balor winning it unless maybe they actually go with Finn winning it, and then we could possibly see Damian Priest actually turn his back on his Judgment Day teammate and cash in on Finn Balor. I'm not sure if that's too likely or not, but I wouldn't really doubt if WWE does go that way though. But we will just have to wait and see what happens August 5th at SummerSlam. Now back to Raw tonight. I know I'm all over the place, but Undisputed Tag Team Champions Owens and Zayn defending against Dominic and Damian Priest with Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley in their corner. Good match here. And Owens and Zayn are victorious to retain the tag team titles. This one I'd have to say 4 out of 5 ring bells. Was a pretty good match. Pretty good main event of Raw tonight. So that was tonight's WWE Monday Night Raw for this week. Once again, wasn't a bad episode, but I wouldn't say it was anything really that great either. So I think I'll have to go a little low on for the rating for the overall show, and I'd have to say 7.5 out of 10 ring bells for this one. And that might be a little too low, maybe a little mean, but I'm gonna stick with 7.5. Sorry if that's a little too mean. But that's the score, or the rating, I should say, that I'm giving tonight's Raw. And before I wrap this podcast up, I'll talk a little pro wrestling news. And Matt Cardona is set to address the NWA. 2 title matches announced for the July 18th episode of Power. And Zachary Wentz called the NXT's dyad top notch and would like to wrestle them in Impact Wrestling. Of course, the reports were out not too long ago about them wanting their releases. And Rey Fenix from the Lucha Brothers vacates the AAA Cruiserweight and Latin American Championships. And also, during Raw tonight, there was a commercial for the new Cody Rhodes documentary that will be debuting on Peacock July 31st. So far, based on the commercials, it doesn't look too bad. I don't know if maybe there'll be any mention or anything of AEW. We will just have to wait and see. And Bayley suffered an injury at a house show last night in Maryland. Luckily, does not seem to be too bad. She was quoted saying, "I'll be alright." So, shouldn't be too bad, so that's good news. And that's all for tonight's episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. Hope everyone has a great rest of your Monday night. Remember, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can leave them in the comment section, either here on Spreaker, YouTube, or anywhere, whichever website or podcast app you listen to on. Or you could also leave your feedback for tonight's Raw. And hope to have more episodes of 360 Wrestling Fanatic soon. Hopefully tomorrow, to talk about NXT and Dark Side of the Ring featuring Abdullah the Butcher. But we'll be back tomorrow for the Tuesday episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans. But until then, I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.